everyone. Welcome to the Catventurous podcast. Today we have Melinda from at HamishAdventureCat.aus, and I'm super excited to chat with Melinda. She was one of the first accounts that I realized on Instagram that there was adventure cats in Australia. So I was super happy to see that, and I'm also super grateful that she's come on with us today. So hi, Melinda.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. So can you perhaps start with telling us a bit about how Hamish came to be in your family, and perhaps what made you decide to offer them a Catventurous lifestyle or a lifestyle on leash?
Sure. I would like to say that I was responsible for him because he's divine, but it was actually Bruce, my partner, and he didn't really get a choice either. It was Hamish that decided. So Bruce is a commercial meter reader, and he was working in a pet store in Brisbane, and just stopped by the adoption cats that they had on display. So a lot of adoption agencies will actually put their animals that are available into pet stores.
Oh, cool.
Just to get some exposure here in Australia.
Yeah, cool.
And so Bruce couldn't help himself. He had to stop and have a look at the kittens, and Hamish just would not leave him alone. He was playing, he was meowing, he was trying to get through the net to get to Bruce. And of course, he completely fell in love, but he left him there and came home to talk to me about whether or not we wanted to get a cat, which was crazy because I was always going to say yes. He knows I love animals, so I don't know why he bothered really. And he never kind of said one way or the other whether he was sold on having a pet or not, because we've been together 28 years and it's never come up as an option, because we've always lived in units or townhouses, and we've always been wary about that environment for a pet. And so the whole next day I was on tenterhooks wondering if he was going to come home with a kitten or not. And I was actually in the bathtub and heard Bruce come home and heard this tiny little meow and leapt out, dripping water everywhere, to go and greet this gorgeous little creature. And yeah, so the reason we decided to give him an adventure cat life, or a Catventurous life, is essentially because he is such a curious little guy. And at that kitten stage, he was also supremely confident. He walked in the door, and within an hour, there was not a single surface of the entire house that he hadn't explored. He was into everything, onto everything. And we just thought, living in a unit, it would just be cruel to keep him contained. But neither of us is prepared to risk his safety or wildlife safety by having him outside, which a lot of people in Australia still do, even though technically all registered cats should be kept contained. So we took him to the pet store the very first day he arrived. Here he is. Hello, beautiful.
Hello, Hamish.
And
beautiful boy.
And bought him a harness and popped it on him as soon as we got home, and he didn't even really bat an eyelid. He just kind of tried to bite it a couple of times, and I'd distract him with a toy, and then he would run around and play. And we just thought, oh well, this is easy. Piece of cake, really. What do people complain about? And then the very next day took him to the beach. So none of this quiet little time in the garden or anything. Jumped right in there.
Sometimes that's how it works, huh?
Well, mainly because we didn't know what we were doing.
Well, it worked for you guys,
Well, yeah, it did. It did. And so now he absolutely cannot abide the beach, doesn't like it at all.
Oh, really?
Yes, but as a kitten, he was much braver. He's become a lot more cautious. He's still super curious, but now he's curious and cautious. And he made it very clear that the beach was not for him. So we go to the
Fair
forest.
enough. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, yeah, they tell you about what they want and what suits them. And I mean, there's always that natural progression too, right? Is from a kitten through to a teenager through to now an adult. They move through different phases just like we do as humans.
Yeah.
And paying attention to that is key, you know. That's that's great. Yeah. Melba just sees the beach as one big sandbox.
Well, I have to admit, we were a bit devastated because we live literally 2 blocks from the beach and we have the most beautiful beaches. So I think we kind of just had in our heads that, oh, you know, he's going to come to the beach and enjoy it as much as we do. But it became clear that the more we took him, the worse it got, the more he was quite adamant that this is not for me. And so we just said, well, you know what? You love the forest. This is for you. We're only taking you out for your benefit, not for ours. Totally. So let's go to the forest.
Excellent. Yeah. I mean, you're in Brisbane, I think, are you?
We're on the Sunshine Coast, so about an hour north of Brisbane.
Fabulous.
And we're very spoiled. We have beautiful beaches and beautiful forests. So.
Yeah, I mean, the Sunshine Coast is just like one of my dream places to live, with the beaches, like you say, and then the hinterland. It's just, I mean, it's just gorgeous. I mean, so you win-win there. So yeah, maybe just tell us quickly about the environment, mostly where you cat venture, and we talk about it's the hinterland of, but and we see your photos, but can you tell us a little bit more about the environment, what it's like, and perhaps what some of the wildlife are that you see there?
Yeah, sure. We tend to stick to places that are within half to an hour away from home, because that's Hamish's limit in the car, is about an hour, and then he wants out. Other than that, he's perfectly happy. But we have so many places that we can go within that limit. And I did a lot of research around places that allow pets, because obviously we have a lot of national park, and in Australia, domestic animals aren't allowed in national parks. So it took quite a bit of research to find the places that we could go with him that were suitable for him, because he, especially when we first started adventuring, he doesn't like wide open spaces, doesn't like wider sort of trails. He found that very intimidating and kept wanting to go back to the car. But if you find a nice narrow path, that he found that much more comforting, and having that little bit of cover, like the tree cover and that sort of thing, places where he could hide, made him more comfortable. So lots of those sorts of places. So we discovered lots of little reserves that had creekside walks, or
nice.
He doesn't even need a great deal of space. We don't even need to go on big, multi-kilometre hikes. We've got some of his favourite places to go are just 1 or 2 blocks in a neighbourhood of bush that have just been left undeveloped, and he'll have an absolute ball in there. And once I was brave enough to not need to hold on to his leash all the time, and once we built that level of trust that he could trust me, that I would be there for him, and I could trust him that if he got scared, he would come to me rather than run away, that opened up off-trail adventuring for us, which just changed everything. Because now that's mostly what we do. We will go to a place where there is a trail, but that's where all the dogs and the people and the bicycles are. And so he'll just pick a spot that he decides looks interesting, and we'll just wander off into the bush, which leads us to the wildlife.
Yeah.
And we come across a lot of it, because they stay away from the humans and we're staying away from the humans. So we see lots of bush turkeys. Not that that's uncommon. You see them everywhere. And he absolutely adores stalking bush turkeys, which I'm a very naughty and actually allow him to do, because there is no way that he's ever going to catch one.
No, exactly.
And they keep coming back for more.
Yeah. Totally. And stalking is such a great expression of his natural instincts. It's,
That's right.
Yeah.
And so we also see, Hey, darling. We also see plenty of goannas, so our really large monitor lizards. We run into them fairly regularly.
What does Hamish think of those?
He thinks they're really interesting and he wants to get much closer than I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, sure.
Because I know what damage they can do.
They can do, for sure.
Yeah, so he's very good. As soon as he hears that slightly panicked sound in my voice, he will just stop dead. And so a couple of times that's been really handy. Not that we've come across any aggressive wildlife, but I just know that if they feel cornered, that it's not going to end well. So he always backs off long before we get to that point.
Excellent.
So yeah, but we see water dragons. That's another favorite of his. Plenty of bird life. He's fantastic at finding the little thickets of bush where the tiny little birds are. So we see wrens and finches and fantails and all the ones that look like little jewels flitting about in the forest because they're brightly coloured and have all the pretty little calls. And we see kangaroos.
Fabulous. It's like dream.
You're getting homesick.
Like dream adventures. It's just fabulous.
Yeah.
Love it.
We don't see the kangaroos hopping down the street like people expect, but we do run into them more often than you would imagine. So he actually got really, really close to one on one occasion, literally within 30 centimetres.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was so proud of him because I kept saying, go slow, and he knows slow, and he listened and just kept creeping closer, and the kangaroo was just as fascinated by him as he was by it, and just sat and looked at him. And it wasn't until a dog barked in one of the houses that backed onto where we were that the kangaroo jumped away. So yeah, I don't know how close they would have gotten if that hadn't happened, but it was magical, just amazing.
Yeah, what a fabulous encounter.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just and well done. You know what comes to my mind immediately in that situation is well done, you guys. You're such a great team together out there like that. I just and he obviously has enough confidence in those sorts of situations to trust you, and he's happy to, you know, get curious about these new. It just shows how wonderful your bond is, and I think that you deserve a lot of credit for that. That's fabulous.
I swear he understands everything I say. People laugh at that, but I
sure.
really do. I do believe that he understands, and whether it's he understands the English words, you know, possibly not, or whether he's just really good at interpreting my tone of voice and whatever it is that he puts together to create the meaning, it works because I mean, I talk to him all the time, but yeah, he really does respond. He's quite amazing. My mum was laughing at me because we were at her place one day, and I said, oh, Hamish, we have to go in the car soon to go home. So if you need to dig, you know, go and use Nanny's litter box. And she just looked at me and laughed and said, oh, yeah, right. And he jumped down off the chair, went up the hallway, and she's looking at me with this look on her face. I said, wait for it. And then you hear dig, 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 dig in the bathroom, and he's using the litter box. And she said, no way.
Oh, that's
that's my boy.
Yeah, that's your boy. Oh, I love that. It's just, you know, clearly you guys are very in tune, and that's just fabulous. In whatever way it works, you know, it might be, maybe he is understanding a few words, but he's clearly understanding your intention and your energy, and that's just fabulous. Oh, I love it. And we back to the wildlife. There's just you see quite a few amphibians as well. Do you see any snakes, or what other things do you see?
We have come across a few snakes, yes. I don't worry so much about the pythons. They're the ones that look scary to people. You know, if I take a photo of a python, people are freaking out because they're so big.
Oh, but they're completely harmless.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not going to let him get close enough that it's going to wrap itself around him or anything like that. So the ones we worry about are brown snakes. And especially since we do so much off-trail adventuring, that's my biggest concern, but I make so much noise going through the bush that no brown snake worth,
they're gonna
it's going to be out of there. The one that scared me the most, I think, was the red belly black snake that we came across. And that was mainly because quite often we'll come across a turkey mound. So for people who don't know, our scrub turkeys build these huge mulch mounds to incubate their eggs in, and if they're not currently being used, if the eggs have hatched and the little hatchlings have gone, they still leave these huge mounds of mulch all over the forest floor. And Hamish and I will quite often play, and I'll hide on one side and he'll stalk me and then run down the other side and grab me and that sort of thing. And we were doing exactly that, and he was on top of this mound, and I walked around to the far side, and there was this huge red belly black snake. And it was all curled up asleep, but all it would have taken was for him to have run down that side away from me, and I was on the other side, and I would never have seen. So that was a really close call, and I was forever grateful to our guardian angels that it was me that came upon it. And I just picked him up, popped him on top of the pack, and we were out of there. We weren't taking any risks with that one.
Totally, with those fellows. Do you have death adders up there, or are they more south?
I don't think we have death adders particularly on the coast. We do have what are they called? Coastal taipans.
Oh, you do?
They're one of the most poisonous. But I've never seen one when I've been with Hamish. I've only ever seen one ever. Yeah,
they're pretty rare to come across, huh? Yeah. The red belly black, they're like, my impression of them is they're less like if you're making a lot
they're not aggressive.
Forest, they're not aggressive, but they're also less like they don't flee as quickly either. They tend to I don't know, that's just my impression of
this one stayed asleep the whole time, so I'm not sure what it would have done, but I was very glad we didn't wake it up, because it was huge. That is
a close call.
But since then, I have actually read that cats are immune to red belly black venom.
Oh, no way.
Really? I did. I came home and did a lot of Googling about that particular snake.
Oh, how interesting.
And I thought that was amazing.
Wow. Oh, I'm going to read more about that, because that sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
Why? Well, like, what is it about a cat and their genetics or their biology that makes them immune to the... Okay, wow, that's super interesting. I'll check that out. Wow, fascinating. And we've talked a little bit about Hamish's personality, but clearly he's really curious. He loves human contact, clearly. Can you tell us a little bit more about Hamish and his personality?
Sure. He loves humans, but he's very cautious with people he doesn't know. He's not one of those cats that will just wrap himself around anybody that comes along. I always laugh that he has some kind of sense and can clearly pick the axe murderers, because there's some people that he will just embrace on the first meeting, and they're obviously part of the family from day one. And then most people, he'll walk up and he'll give them a little sniff, but that's enough. If they try to touch him, then he'll back off. And then there's just the very few number of people who he'll spot them and he's out of there, and nothing will convince him that person is worth saying hello to. So I just laugh that he can pick the axe murderers out there.
Hamish, good skills, man. Good skills.
But he's getting better with people generally, but we live quite a isolated life for people who live in a unit complex. Like, he has contact with me obviously a lot, because I only work one day a week, so I'm home with him to adventure. Pretty much I'm his slave for the rest of the time. So he spends a lot of time with me, but I'm a little bit of an introvert, so it's not like I'm surrounded by people all the time. So he doesn't have contact with a large number of people. But he's getting better. Aren't you, chicken? We both are. Okay? We're getting better.
Yeah, together. Yeah, what a good team you are. I love it. And if we can go perhaps a little bit to some of the practical stuff, what harness and leash do you use? What's your ideas about the harnesses and leashes? You can name brands if you want to. It's you.
Well, as I said, we got his harness and leash, the very first day he arrived in our lives. So there wasn't exactly a great deal of research that went into it. It was what was at the pet shop, which happened to be a Rogs Alley Cat H-style harness, which is actually fantastic for him. He had they're adjustable, which is awesome. And so he had the extra small one down to its tiniest little setting when we first got him, and he's progressed into the larger one. But it gives him that freedom of movement. He's so active and he's such a climber that anything that restricts him, we tried him in a bandana just recently because Ari Cat Designs did this most amazing bandana of a little tuxedo cat in a rainforest. So we just had to have it because it was so up. Yeah. And it's the first time he's ever worn anything like that. And he couldn't jump. He tried to jump up onto a fence and he got himself all caught up in the bandana.
Oh no.
So just that really simple H style works really well for him. And it also gets so hot here in summer, as you would know, that you wouldn't want any vest style, or you just want the bare minimum. We did put a little bit of thought into the leash because it came with just a standard sort of leash that comes with it, and it was right at the stage where he was really getting into zoomies, and it was before I was comfortable letting go of his leash. So I was holding onto it all the time, and just that jerking where he'd try to take off and my reflexes aren't anywhere close to being as fast as his are, and I felt like I was possibly jerking on his neck, and I didn't like that. So we went and discovered a I think it's called Easy Dog brand. So it's a dog leash, but it's got that section of bungee in it. And it just, if he takes off really quickly, it gives him that little bit of stretch, and it's not quite so jerky.
Yeah, we recently got a dog leash like that too, and it's been it's like a life changer really for Melinda on the trails. Just having that extra little bit of give in the leash, it's really, really great. Yeah.
Because I've tried. I used to walk dogs for a living for a little while, and I never really got the hang of the whole retractable leash thing. I'm much more comfortable with a set distance. And so a lot of people have suggested we try the retractable, but I think I'm much more comfortable with just letting go of the leash. We've sort of understand each other well enough that works for us. But I would never take the leash off because it really is handy to be able to grab him quickly. And also him being mostly dark, when he's crawling through the underbrush or whatever, sometimes it's only the red leash that you can actually see to keep track of where he is, to meet him around on the other side. I think we're pretty comfortable with the setup that we've got, and I don't think we're in any hurry to change it.
It works. Why not? So it's essentially it's a long dog leash, is it, with a bungee? That stretches. Okay. Yeah. I know. I mean, lots of people use those, and it's really whatever works.
The only downside is that it's got so many sort of catch points, I suppose, because we're off trail all the time, and he's crawling through lantana or whatever it is, and there's just so many little sections that aren't a smooth connection where they've stitched or whatever, and you wouldn't think that this tiny 1 millimeter drop in where the fabric meets could possibly cause problems, but that's my primary role, is leash untangling. That's why he takes me along.
Yeah, totally. I totally understand that. Yeah, I'm leash untangler as well. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, so we've talked about, the snakes and stuff, but are there other specific precautions that you take for other reasons, whatever reasons for safety, like, you get off trails for avoiding dogs? Yeah, are there any other things that you do specifically that are for safety that you can perhaps, advise other people to try as well?
I think my biggest fear for him is that because he is such a great climber and he loves it so much, my biggest fear is that he's going to go up a tree, and it won't be that he gets stuck, it'll be that his leash gets stuck and that I won't be able to get to him. And that has happened only once, thank goodness. And luckily we were at a reserve that's only 5 minutes from where we live. And fortunately, again, it was both Bruce and myself who were with him. So I could stay with him, and Bruce actually had to drive home and get our rock climbing gear. And then we had to rig up a rope so that Bruce could ascend the tree to untangle his leash and get him back down the tree. So we have the skills to be able to do that.
Well done, Bruce.
We're rock climbers, yes.
Totally.
And B, we were very fortunate as to where and when it happened. But since then, Bruce has put together a tree rescue kit, which we keep in each of the cars in case we're, much further away from home, which I guess is a bit of an unusual one. I wouldn't expect that everybody would have one of those in their car. But for us, that's the big fear. And the other one for us is ticks, because of where we go and where we live. Ticks are a big problem. So I'm absolutely religious with his tick treatment. And I'm actually such a wuss that I go to the vet and the vet nurse actually applies it, even though it's just the topical, you part the fur and squeeze it onto the skin. I'm so paranoid that I'll get it wrong that we go and get the experts to do it.
Fair enough. And they'll be hard to see too in his dark.
Yes.
His dark.
But I have actually witnessed the ticks on the outside of his fur, and they don't burrow. They're so repelled by, we use Brevecto Plus, and they're so repelled by whatever it does to his skin that they will just sit on the surface and I can just flick them away.
So it works well, clearly.
Yeah.
So what is it?
I'm hoping they'll bring it out for humans.
Provecto Plus, is that?
Brevecto, Bravecto, Brevecto Plus. I'm not sure if it's available everywhere, but that's the one our vet recommended. And it also covers them for all of the worms as well, except for tapeworm. So he has an additional tapeworm tablet at the same time, which is another reason I get the vet to do it.
I get the vet to do all the tablets as well.
Yes.
Too tricky. And off-leash dogs, are they a problem in your area? Do you have to be careful with them other than getting off trails?
Yes, we have come across quite a few off-leash dogs. Even though they're in leash-only areas, it's quite common for people in Australia to just let them roam free. And our strategy is, Hamish is very good at picking when they're approaching. He'll pick them up long before I do. And I've just learnt that if he's acting in a particular way, that generally means that there's somebody coming along the trail, or that there's a dog, or he's not comfortable. And so I always have the backpack with me when it's just Hamish and I. And so I'll pick him up and pop him on top of the backpack. And as soon as he's got the upper ground, he's perfectly relaxed. He doesn't get concerned. And I haven't come across a dog yet that has been unfriendly. So we've been very lucky that, I can just be patting the dog and, saying hello, and the owner then comes, and that's fine. We haven't had any instances where the dog has tried to attack him or tried to,
jump up,
attack me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been very lucky. And some dogs, if we have enough, we can see them approaching, he's quite comfortable to just sit and let them pass by. So yeah,
on leash, you mean?
well, on leash, and even we've had a couple that have been off leash, but they've been quite calm, like they're not running, they're just walking, and he's quite comfortable to just sit and watch them go by. So I think it's only if they're coming around a blind corner, or if they're running, or that he gets startled. But I think we've trained him not to run, because if he runs, then they want to chase, and that's really bad. So we encourage him to go up a tree. That's his safe place, and it's not hard to encourage him to go up a tree. He generally wants to do that anyway.
Yeah.
So I think we've only had 2 unpleasant instances, and one was here at home in our unit complex. And we're not entirely sure what sparked it. It was a dog that lives in our complex who he had met many times before. And just on this particular occasion, she wasn't doing anything different to what she normally did, but she must have surprised him. It was when he was still quite young. And I picked him up, but he was already in full panic mode, and he just wanted to get higher. So he was trying to climb onto my head to get away. And I was trying to hold him and open the door to be able to get inside away from the dog. And he bit my hand, chopped my hand. And once we were inside, he was fine. He calmed down, and I was worried that he wouldn't want to go back out again. But it was perfectly, he was fine. It was like it had never happened to him. But he was very concerned about my hand. He kept coming over and licking it and trying to make it better. But I had to go on antibiotics. So it all swelled up. It was nasty. And the other one was poor Bruce had him on this occasion, and it was off-leash dogs on a trail we'd never been on before. And they were very, very well behaved, but their owner was further back and hadn't realised that they had run forward to where he didn't know we were there. And Bruce tried to pick Hamish up to put him onto a tree. And again, he was already in panic mode. And so poor Bruce got scratched as he was trying to pick him up. But again, once he had the higher ground, we stopped and talked to that dog owner for 10 minutes, and he was fine. So it was just that initial panic of get somewhere safe. So I think, the more notice that we have, and the more I can read his signals that, oh, there's something coming, or, keep my eyes open, the more prepared he can be, then the less problems we have, I think.
Yeah, and that he's so good clearly at working out his own safety by getting up a tree. I mean, that's the safest place for a cat, right? From
absolutely
they do it, or part of it at least, yeah. Oh, good on Hamish. And you guys clearly have a really great bond. It's just it's super clear. But have there been things that you have done and that you still do now that actively promote that bond between you? Do you have any things that you actively do?
We play a lot. And we go out 4 times a day. So when I say I'm his slave, I'm not exaggerating. My whole life revolves around a cat, essentially. So he has a morning walk. He has a walk around, and if it's not a big adventure, which is usually our morning adventures during the week, I'll take him somewhere, we'll go out for a couple of hours. But if that doesn't happen for whatever reason, it'll be a walk in the garden. And then we can be home from an adventure, and he will give me a 20-minute grace period to sit down and have breakfast. And then he's at the door and he wants his garden time. So then he goes out in the garden. Then he has another walk in the late afternoon, and then one of us, usually Bruce, takes him out at night. So there's a lot of time that goes into this bond.
Clearly.
And we play a lot, and because he's just so clever, he gets bored so quickly with toys. You've always got to be upping the ante and finding a new way to make it exciting and interesting for him. I always say that I had no idea that 15 years of teaching special education was preparing me so well for being a cat mum. But there's so many skills that work across so well, you know, being creative and, you know, really working to where he's at.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm sure those skills cross over perfectly.
The behavior management.
Exactly. Oh, that's fabulous. And you haven't clicker trained him or anything like that?
No, he's very unmotivated by food. He couldn't care less about food. And that makes it really hard to do any kind of formal training. We tried when we first got in. We thought, oh, you know, we're going to be doing the high five and this. And he did. He learned how to do the high five in literally like 3 gives of the treat, and then he just went, well, you can keep your stupid treat. I couldn't care less. and I'm not high-fiving anymore, thank you very much. But he has learnt all the really functional skills, so it's less clicker training and just more we have set routines. So every time we go out, I say the same things and do the same things. When we come home, I say and do the same things. I have a very consistent approach across a lot of different situations. So he understands what I'm saying. And while I haven't trained him, he understands go slow, he understands be careful, he understands, you know, come here, all of those really functional things that are important for, you know, wait, wait there, mummy will come round. Like he understands all of that. And we've just done it all just through repetition and me talking to him all the time.
Yeah, great. Oh, you guys have clearly worked out, you know each other so well, and you've worked out what works for you, and who cares about a high five?
Yeah, well, that's it. That's exactly right. I mean, there's so much.
But it's these functional things are so much more important.
It was all the safety stuff that was super important. The rest is gravy, if that happens and he enjoys it, and that's fine. But what's paramount to me is that we can do what we want to do, and he'll be safe and I'll be confident that I can trust him in those circumstances, and we've got to that point. So, yeah.
Bravo, you've clearly done an amazing job. I love it. And so what do you think people most misunderstand about cats on leash?
Well, here in Australia, it's really not that common to see a cat on a leash. It's still quite a unique thing, and so I assume that most people just think that they're going to be like a dog, and that taking a cat out is like taking a dog out, and you and I both know that you couldn't be further from the truth. So yeah, I think that would be the biggest one. He often gets mistaken for a monkey because people just see him perched up on top of the backpack, and they just see his curly black tail, and they, you've got no, that's not a monkey. It's a cat. And he's always up for trees, so
yeah, exactly. He could be a possum.
Yeah, I keep saying that. I think he's part human, part cat, part monkey, part possum.
Yeah. Great combination. Oh, Hamish, you're so handsome. I love that little black thing on his nose.
Yes. Well, the vet was very happy too when he first met him that he had a black nose, because little pink noses are very susceptible to the sun. So yeah, he said, well, that's a blessing.
That is. Oh, he's super handsome. We know why Melba likes you.
She likes a well-dressed pussycat, doesn't she?
Yeah, he's super handsome.
We think so.
Yeah, he's gorgeous. So. Yeah, he knows it. He knows it. That's the great thing about cats, right? They know it. They know they're awesome. And what's the most important thing that you've learned, do you think, about yourself, or about Hamish, or about life, or about whatever you want to, what's the most important thing?
He's been a fantastic blessing in slowing me down because
Mm.
I've always been very active, always been a big lover of nature, so always hiking, trail running, climbing mountains, that sort of thing. But it was always, you know, how many peaks you can bag and how fast you can do it and how many laps you can do of the mountain. And while that is all awesome and fun, I think it was also taking a big physical toll, and my body was getting to the point where it was really starting to say, you know what? So I think Bruce was a bit strategic in bringing Hamish home. Thinking he's just
timing. Yeah.
trying to slow me down. Oh, and he also says that he always used to try to get me to go off trail because he's a big adventurer. And I would always be saying, well, why would you want to go off trail when there's this perfectly delightful path to follow? Why would I want to bush bash through the lantana? And he's saying, well, to get to that rock over there, it looks really interesting. And Hamish has totally trained me to do that. In 28 years, Bruce couldn't do it, but Hamish did it in one. And now I'll follow him anywhere, and Bruce is a bit
see what Bruce has done there. Well done, Bruce.
Yeah. So Hamish has really slowed me down, and you really appreciate, you know, those little things that you wouldn't see, you wouldn't notice. You see the world through his eyes. You really get that little cat big world experience.
Yeah, nice.
Which is just amazing.
Yeah, I love that. You haven't ever been tempted to take Hamish rock climbing?
We have taken him rock climbing.
Oh, you have? Cool.
We have. He's come to the crag a few times.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of the things that he was more comfortable with when he was younger, and the older he gets, the more he doesn't like the fact that there's noise and that there's, you know, people dangling from unusual places. He's gotten a lot more cautious. I think he's probably gotten a lot more spoiled. He's used to mum and Hamish time, and, you know, basically we do whatever he wants to do. So to take him to the crag, it's very much he has to fit in with what we're doing, and that's probably a bit more difficult for him. But he's an awesome rock climber. He can go up vertical surfaces.
Wow.
it's quite astonishing.
Hamish, he's such a good climber, isn't that? Perfect. He's the perfect he's perfect for you guys, because clearly you're amazing climbers. Like, like universe, you knew exactly what you were doing bringing Hamish into the family. That's fabulous.
Yes. Exactly.
Oh, I love it. You see, I mean, you've seen a few of our photos. We take Melbourne in the backpack on the it's nothing like what you guys do, clearly, but on the Via Ferrata I
know, we're so jealous.
Yeah,
we would love to have Via Ferratas. We've only done one, and that was in Greece, and we absolutely loved it.
Yeah,
but it's just not a thing in Australia.
No, it's not, huh? I think I read there's like one or two, but to even live close to it would be, like winning the lottery. But no, I mean, here they're where we are in Marseille, there's not heaps around us, but we can, within an hour, we can get to one. And there's, there's plenty sort of, if we drove for 2-3 hours, there's like, I don't know, tens, maybe even, I don't know, 100 around us. So it's there's heaps.
So jealous.
Yeah, and they're lots of fun because they're we can put Melba in the backpack, and Francois can carry her, or if it's a not too challenging one, I carry her, and it's fun to have her with us.
Absolutely.
Well, if you come to Europe, you'll have to come and do one with us.
Absolutely, yes.
That'd be fabulous. And what's your best advice for people who are thinking about giving their cat a Catventurous lifestyle?
Time, I think. You have to put the time in. So it has to be, I think you really need to have a consistent approach. I don't think you can expect that your cat is going to be ready to go out when you're ready to go out. I think you put the time in to do little amounts often to make those bigger adventures possible. and also to build that bond, because if you don't have the trust, if they don't trust you, and if you can't trust them, it's just way too stressful for everybody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think time is probably the biggest thing that you have to commit to and really invest in to make it worthwhile.
Great.
And I think if you speak to anybody that takes their cat out, they don't just do it intermittently. It's not
Yeah.
just, oh, we've got time this weekend, we'll take the cat out. I think everybody, really invests in making it a lifestyle.
Yeah, great. I mean, that's a great point. It is like, if I mean, my from my point of view, the advice is that, yeah, this is truly a lifestyle. It's not just about just sometimes taking your cat outside. It's totally a lifestyle, and it is something that it's a commitment that is above and beyond just having a cat. It's not.
Oh yeah.
It's a whole nother commitment, and just to be ready for that commitment is great.
Yeah.
Love it.
It feels like you can't promise them the world and then not deliver. You know what I mean? Like, if you take them out and you show them what's possible and what they could have, and then you say, okay, but for the next month you have to you have to be inside and just be a house cat, just be a pet for a month, and then I'll be ready, to take you out on a weekend. Like, I don't know, like that, to me, that just feels like it couldn't possibly work. And even if, I understand that there's circumstances where cats have to stay inside, the weather's inclement, or, you have a winter that's freezing or whatever, but you'll find that the people who are committed to taking their cats outside, they're working with their cat during that time. So they're playing and they're training and they're, they're increasing that bond. They're not just expecting them to be a house cat in that time.
Totally. And all of that pays off in spades when going outside, in bond. For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an experience that you can't get. Otherwise.
It's no, that's excellent advice. Love that. And what are your top 3 tips for having a healthy and thriving Catventurer?
Oh, top 3 tips.
We've touched on so many of them, right? In this,
we have. I would say consistency. I would say it's all about the cat.
Yeah.
So you might just have to adjust your expectations, because you can't just expect that your cat's going to do what you want to do, and you can't expect that your cat's going to do what other cats are going to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so adjust your expectations and make it about the cat. I mean, we do this for them, right? It's not just for us. So if they're not happy and if they're not comfortable, it's not fun for anybody. So that's only 2, isn't it? What's number 3?
If it's your top 2, all good. I mean, you've given us, there's so many little great tips all throughout there anyway, and just like, go ahead. Have you got a number 3?
Number 3, have fun. It's got to be about fun. If it's not fun, then if they're not having fun, if you're not having fun, there's no point. So do what makes you happy, do what makes them happy, and enjoy all those little moments that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Nice. That's it, right? It's and when, I don't know about you, but when I first sort of saw this, I thought, oh wow, that would be super cool. But there's so fun, but there's so many layers to it that reveal themselves as you go on this journey, right? It's it's so much more than just going out with your cat on leash. Like, there's just these beautiful layers about what they teach you, how you view the world, how you move through the world. It's just this wonderful thing, wonderful activity.
Absolutely.
And
it doesn't ever seem to end, that learning curve of what they're learning and what we're learning. And that you might think, oh, I've got this really accomplished adventure cat, and then they'll do something else that just absolutely surprises you and takes you to the next level. And it's pretty amazing.
Exactly. And so many different activities that that we humans do where cats can fit in and can really enjoy it. Like you guys are rock climbers, and there's others that take their cats out on water. There's just so many different ways to explore doing this. It's fabulous. It's such a great thing. And what if you could wave your magic wand, what would you have happen that would make this world better for humans and their Catventurous?
That's a really easy one for me. I would have control over time and space, and I would come and visit you in Marseille, and we would
fly
around the world. Pop around the world and visit all our amazing Instagram friends.
Wow, that would make it better. That would would. Yeah.
Can you imagine?
It'd just be so cool. Yeah, I mean, this is such a wonderful, supportive community. So many great people all around the world. I would love to, just fly around and meet with Melba. It's just, and go, if you could wave your magic wand and just jump between all of them and go on a cat venture together. How great would that be?
It'd be fantastic. So many people say, oh, we'd love to come on an adventure with you. And I'm thinking, oh, yes, how good would that be?
Yeah, so good. So good. Yeah. I love that. And is there anything else that you'd like to add? What haven't I asked you that you would love to share with us or like to share with us?
Oh, Lordy, I don't know. We've covered so much. I don't know. I think more than anything, I'm just really grateful and thankful to the Instagram community, because, as I said, we had no clue what we were doing when we jumped into this lifestyle. We didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into. And discovering the Instagram cat community has just been such a revelation and such a blessing. So I just say thank you to all those beautiful cat people out there who make our life, or my life in particular, just so much richer for having met you all. It's been such a beautiful surprise. You don't imagine, we've always had social media, but I've never immersed myself into social media to quite the level that I have since we have Hamish's account. And the friendships that you make with these people who are on the other side of the world, who you may have absolutely nothing in common with other than you have this love for cats, or you have this passion for taking your cat outside. And just to see where people live and where they go and other parts of this beautiful world. And it's fantastic. So thank you all for being amazing. We love all of you.
It's such a wonderful community. I mean, social media is what it is. It's, it can be the most fabulous thing, and it can also be a really destructive thing. But this community shows the beauty of social media and how powerful it is as a connector, and a connector on this. It doesn't matter about any of the other stuff. Like you say, we might have nothing in common other than this passion that we have for doing what we do, and it just doesn't matter. Like, it just shows that find that thing and connect with people, and it's just I love it for that. It's fabulous. And
it's really inspiring seeing the change and what amazing people like yourself are doing with that, like the Support Cats on Leash campaign, and all of those amazing things that I just find people in the world out there are doers, and clearly you and others are doers, and I find that inspiring and motivating. And it's really it's wonderful to be a part of that.
It sure is. Well, I mean, I'm not a massive doer. I'm a bit of an introvert like you, but I just love this community so much, and really why I wanted to do this podcast is I think it's a really great way for us to see each other beyond what we see on the screen, and sure, it's about the cats and we often connect through the cats, but it's great to just, connect as humans too, and for other people to see you, see me, see actually who we are and get a feel for us as people. And I think that's super cool. Plus great advice. Everyone's got their own ways of doing things, perspectives, and also, I mean, the part of this too that I love is just to, it comes back to that thing about not comparing yourself to what you see on Instagram. I think when you see the real person and you see and you hear them speak about it, they've got their struggles, they've got their joys with it, and it just becomes a more rich experience than just an image. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, that's why I wanted to do it too.
We try really hard on Instagram to keep things as real as possible. Obviously I don't put the photos of me looking fat, but we try to
we all put up the big ones. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So we try to sort of, if we've had a bad day, or if he had to be rescued out of a tree, or if, we have had a scary experience, or the accounts that I really love are the ones where you feel like you've taken on the adventure with them. And I guess that's what we try to do, is to take you with us, so you see where we are, what we're doing, how it makes us feel, so you can be immersed in the experience with us. And that comes with all of the the not so fun stuff, the spider webs and everything else as well.
Yeah, I love it. I love your account. You've done a great job with it. Really, it's great. We do feel like we're with you in Australia, in the beautiful ocean with all that wildlife, and it's just, and that Hamish can experience all of that. It's just so great.
Yeah.
So well done, you guys, and thank you once again for coming on the podcast. I'm sure people will be just super happy to meet you on screen.
Thank you.
As I have been, and so thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you soon.
Thanks. Bye.